Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sporting Blizzard podcast. And yes, I sound much better than I did last week. I'm back in my studio. I'm back home. I don't have to worry about recording on top of an AC air vent or have fire trucks, ambulances, cars go by. It's lovely. I don't have to worry about all that, and the editing process will be much easier. But I am joined here with my father, Tony. Say hello to everyone, Tony.
Happy playoffs, everybody.
Well, it's not a happy playoffs if you're a Steelers fan, or it is a very happy playoffs because you avoid playing the Buffalo Bills. We have some stuff to talk about, but we gotta get into Titans Jaguars, and to kick it off, we're recording this on Tuesday after the games. Titans fired their offense coordinator Todd Downing, and what are your thoughts on them firing Downing?
You kind of saw the writing on the wall. Sadly, I don't know if it was all his fault. I think that uh, putting all of their, eggs into one basket when it come to making, Malik the backup really hurt them because they were a playoff team. And when Tannehill's gone down this year, they have not been good. And if they would have put some money, some resources towards, an actual backup quarterback, even if Dobbs would have been there for the
And
for the
Dobbs was a
year.
free agent the entire season.
And I thought he played remarkably well. So he would be definitely somebody I would look at for a backup role. But I think that this game would have been a mute game because they would have been in the playoffs. I love the Titans. I really do. I love the fact that they are a ground first team. So I hope that the new OC coming in doesn't change that. That's just my 2 cents worth there.
I think that this team needs to fix its offensive line. That should be their first priority. Because you can say not having a backup was the biggest key. I'd argue that their offensive line was their biggest issue because it did lead to Tannehill getting hurt. It led him taking a lot more abuse than he had in years past. And Ryan Tannehill is not the most durable quarterback. He had injuries in Miami. I believe he had injuries at Texas A&M, if I'm remembering correctly. And he's had injuries here with the Titans. I think they need to rebuild that line. And unfortunately, I think Taylor Lewan's going to be one of the sacrifices just due to the cap hit he has and with what they have to clear up. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago when I talked about the Titans, but they are a team that I can see 2 years from now picking top 10, top 5 because their O-line is bad. Tannehill has injury issues. He gets hurt. They're going to struggle, and Derrick Henry's approaching the age where running backs tend to regress massively. But there is positives about the Titans, and I don't think Derrick Henry's their best player anymore, and that can be as controversial as you want, but Jeffrey Simmons is a dark horse for Defensive Player of the Year. I thought he dominated the Jaguars' offensive line, and every game I've watched, I've been like, he's the best player on the field. He just dominates whoever he's playing against. Would you disagree?
No, I would absolutely agree. And it's kind of funny. We talk a lot about him ever since he was drafted. Neither one of us really liked the drafting process, how he was treated unfairly. Remember, he
And
came in that year,
to
he
be
was
clear,
hurt.
it's not how the teams treat him unfairly. It's not
No,
even how NFL Network did. It's more
it's the
directed
media.
with ESPN and with what, as your favorite reporter, Trey Wingo, had to say and all that. And listen, I'm not going to defend Jeffrey for assaulting a woman. I'm not. But he did defend his mom and sister at the end of the day. And as a guy, it's kind of more understandable. It's like, those are his family. Those are his people. He's going to protect them. It's wrong he assaulted a woman. It's wrong he put his hands on a woman. But in a fight or flight mode, some of us, that just takes over. It's the protection instinct. But that's a different story. And he is going to be getting paid handsomely. Would you disagree?
No, and I think it's well worth it. He has been amazing. When he came back off that injury his rookie year, he was still dynamic in their playoff run then, and he's been nothing but better. He basically held that defensive line together this year with all the injuries that they had. They were still a top 10 defensive line, and they lost a lot. So I don't know if I agree with you that, in a few years they're going to be picking top 5 or top 10. I think Vrabel's a good coach, depending upon who they get to come in as the new GM. there are areas where they can definitely improve, and offensive line is one of them. But salary cap going up, everything else, I don't think this team is that far away. And yes, Henry is getting old, but they've also proved that whoever they
Oh, well, we got cut in and out.
plug and play
You cut
into
in and
that
out there.
backfield
You were just saying
does
Henry
pretty.
proved when Henry's out. Pretty much, you're about to talk about Hassan Haskins.
What I said was they have proved Foreman last year, Haskins this year. The run first mentality just seems to work for that team, and they're successful. Not as successful as with Henry, but still successful.
Yeah, I just have my doubts in the future. And top 5 may be ambitious, but I can definitely see them fall into top 10. But I just want to pull up. I'm a draft nerd, and I'm just going to pull up from pick 11 to 18. Jeffrey Simmons was the 19th pick. Here are the guys that are picked in front of him: Jonah Williams, Rashawn Gary, Christian Wilkins, Chris Lindstrom, Dwayne Haskins, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Garrett Bradbury. How many of those teams wish they picked Jeffrey Simmons?
All of them, and most of the ones in the top 10 as well.
Yeah, because right before that, Ed Oliver, he'd be amazing on the Bills. Or the Pittsburgh Steelers taking Devin Bush, he'd be amazing there too.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, but let's not hamper so long on the Titans. I just want to quickly ask you, can you see the Jags making a run in the playoffs?
I can definitely see them getting through this week. The Chargers have struggled mightily against the run all year long, and Jacksonville does have a pretty good run game. So I can see that this game being up for the air. Other than that, I don't see them really moving any farther. They are, as far as I'm concerned, a premier wide receiver away. They've got some guys that can catch the ball and run routes and things, but they don't have that dominant number one guy. Maybe next year when
Calvin Ridley,
when they have Calvin Ridley playing, things might change. But who knows?
Okay, this is gonna sound crazy. Do you call the Cardinals and ask about DeAndre Hopkins?
I don't think so. And my reason for that is because they've been doing pretty well at, not going all in on super expensive players. They've been paying guys consistently. That contract that they gave Christian Kirk, really screwed the market up. But, I don't see going and getting an aging wide receiver that's had some health issues. I don't think that's your best bet. So, go get somebody super tall, because it seems like when Trevor Lawrence is, when he misses on his throws, it's off and high. So evidently you need a guy that's 7 foot tall when he does throw errant throws. But other than that, you just need a number one guy. And I think that offense would be set.
So, just to continue, would you rather trade for a guy, or would you rather draft a guy in the first round?
I honestly think that if you get a receiver that fits the mold that you need, drafting in the first or second round would be fine. It seems like the last couple years, if you're drafting in the first or the second round in wide receiver, and even in the third round, these guys have been absolutely amazing. And so I think receivers they're developing more in college and in high school now, and they're almost a plug and play.
Well, now let's get into the playoff games, and we're kicking it off straight away with your team. The Seattle Seahawks head to San Francisco to play the 49ers on Saturday.
Yeah.
Any fear?
No, there's absolutely no fear. And the reason why I say there's no fear is because none of us on the other side of the Seattle Seahawks inner core thought that Seattle would be in the playoffs. They had opportunities to do better this year than what they were. They botched those. But they're playing on house money right now, right? So if they go in and they upset the San Francisco 49ers at home, who are arguably considered by many to be the representative from the NFC, then not only does it just put Seattle ahead so far as the the perception of where they're at in the league. Oh, but that just burns 49ers fans up. And let's face it, Seattle's, other than they've lost both games and they have botched a lot of the games in both games, weren't out of either game.
Oh.
And so if they can put it together, they might do something.
So I'm gonna ask, who you picking? Are you gonna follow your heart or are you gonna follow your brain?
I think the 49ers will win.
Oh, whoa, hang on. Last year, you convinced me you got live and die with your team. I took the Steelers to beat the Chiefs. You're gonna cower your way out of this.
No, what did I say? I said I believe the 49ers are going to win. Does that mean that I don't want the Seahawks to win? I won't be cheering for the Seahawks? That's not what that means. That just means that I believe the 49ers will win.
So, here's where I come on here and make stuff interesting. See, I have faith in you, Pete. Okay, I don't have a lot of faith in you. I'm going to be honest. I think this game's going to be close. I'm a little bit worried about the 49ers defense. Whoa. I did not like the game against the Raiders. I thought the Raiders kind of exposed them a bit. And the Cardinals were able to do some stuff before Blau got hurt. As soon as Trace McSorley came in, game over. Trace McSorley's not an NFL quarterback. He's not an NFL backup. He's not a practice squad quarterback. I don't know why he's on a team. The 49ers ran them out of the place. I think Seattle's offense can do just enough to stay in this game. My question is, what can their defense do? And there's this saying, the NFL is a hard place to win. It's hard to beat your divisional rivals 2 times a year, isn't it?
Oh, and it's even harder to beat them 3 times a year.
But with what no one's saying is, this team's played Brock Purdy. This is the first time Brock Purdy's played against a team that's played him already. Pete Carroll is one of the best defensive minds in the past 20 years in football, maybe 30, depending on how far back you want to go. He's a defensive genius. Do you think Pete Carroll can come up with stuff to go against Brock Purdy now that he's seen him play live, now that he has his team playing against him on film?
I agree. And that's the one hope that I have for Seattle. I'm just really curious if it's going to happen.
So, we usually do these games because this is the game we're reviewing next week. I gotta make stuff interesting. To make stuff interesting, I gotta pick the opposite. I gotta make it interesting. Give me the Seattle Seahawks.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be wrong most likely, but and just to be clear, I'm not just saying this to make stuff interesting. I do think Seattle has a chance to win. I think DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett can attack the 49ers. My fear is Deebo Samuel come back and attacking the Seahawks because he's an intimidating man. But you also got Kenneth Walker, who is playing good. And Geno, I don't think Geno is great, but I think Geno is good. He's serviceable. And right now, in the NFC where there's no real, tier 1 QB, everyone's just kind of bunched up together, Geno might be what you need to go on a run here in the NFC playoffs. If that young defense gets confidence, that young defense gets swagger, Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant, Boye Mafe, Uchenna Nwosu, did I say his name correct?
Yes, you did.
Those young guys, they can, I don't want to say have moxie, but when you're young, you're stupid. You don't look at the big bad bully on the block and think he's unbeatable. When you're young, you have all this spit and vinegar in you, and you're not afraid to go up to that bully, you're not afraid to fight him. I think the Seahawks have no fear, which is why I think this is a tougher matchup for the 49ers. But let's go on to the next game on Saturday, which would be Chargers-Jaguars. Ooh. What are your thoughts of this game?
Well, we kind of prefaced this when we were talking about the Jags game. I think that the Jags can give the Chargers a lot of problems. It'll be interesting. I guess Mike Williams was not doing well at the end of that game. He was injured. There was a couple of injuries.
I did read he's eligible to practice. He will be practicing this week, and he will be playing.
They will need all hands on deck just to beat that, because that Jacksonville team is nothing but speed on defense, and going up against the Chargers, I think that may favor Jacksonville. If you remember early in the season when they played, this was the first game where you and I actually went out on a limb and said, we're giving it to Jacksonville. We called Jacksonville to win that game. And they did. So I'm going to go with an upset, and I'm going to say Jacksonville wins this. I just think that they're playing pretty hot right now, and they've got a lot of confidence. Whether it's merited or not, they've got a lot of confidence. And sometimes, it doesn't have to be warranted. If you're feeling it, then just feel it and go for it.
So I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to be taking the Jaguars, but if I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm cheering for the Jaguars. I don't want the Chargers. The Chargers are getting healthy at the right time. They got Joey Bosa back. Did you see he was just put on the 21-day practice window today?
Yes, I did.
Rashawn Slater. Let me tell you something. If Rashawn Slater comes back, and I did read he's not going to play this game, but he could return next week. The Chargers win this game. They're the dark horse. And that's crazy to say because everyone all year has been like, gotta get rid of Brandon Staley, gotta get rid of Brandon Staley. This team's getting healthy.
I still think you need to get rid of Brandon Staley. And I do think that if the Chargers lose this game, I think he's the next head coach to fall.
I don't know if head coach. I think they'd get rid of their OC, but that'll be interesting. I think if the Chargers win this, everyone should be worried. I do think the Jags win it. I do. But man, if they get Slater and they have Bosa back, but they get healthy, that's dangerous. And let's not forget, the Chargers have given Chiefs fits since Herbert's been in the league. And you could say, well, the Chiefs haven't lost. They haven't lost, but watching them play the Chargers, I'm always like, yeah, they can beat them. That they are the Chiefs' kryptonite in a sense, that they can play them. Like the Titans, they always play the Chiefs tough. Bills always play the Chiefs tough. Chargers, they always play the Chiefs tough. Chargers win this, I wouldn't be surprised if they're playing the AFC Championship game. Now let's go to Sunday when we got Dolphins, Bills, and I don't know this. Had they said Tua's going to be playing at all?
He has not cleared concussion protocol yet.
Bills big. I watched Skylar Thompson play last week as a Steelers fan. I was watching that game. That Jets-Dolphins game may be one of the worst football games I've ever seen. That was horrible. Anyone who watched Colts, Broncos, or Broncos 49ers and thought those offenses were bad, watch that game. You'll have new respect for the Russell Wilson, Matt Ryan-led offenses. They were bad. And I don't know if you know this, Buffalo's a pretty great team. You can't come into Buffalo and be bad at something and expect to win. If Skylar Thompson is the guy, I think the Bills win big. If Tua is able to play, I think it's closer. If Teddy Bridgewater plays, I think the Bills win big.
I would agree. I would echo all those. And you really saw how that team rallied last week. I think that they were kind of a little too pumped up early on just because of all the emotion. But when they settled down, then they started feeling it. You could just definitely tell that they were in a groove. And if I was any team in the AFC right now, I would not want to play them.
No, and I know, and I'm just going to take this back. I know Bengals fans think that they won that game, that the Bills had no chance in that game. I've seen it all over social media. I'm going to tell everyone this now. The Bills are coming with a vendetta. I'm going to bring up a movie reference. Movie 2 of John Wick, when he goes through chasing that one bad guy, he's going through everyone, just taking everyone down, shooting them in the head. You know the scene I'm talking about, I'm sure.
Oh yes.
That's the Bills right now. That no matter who's in their way, they have that fire under them. They have that confidence, and they have the will to win. And Miami's just going to be a punching bag. And
right now, they're just stepping stones.
Yeah, I have been saying this in practically everything. There's a big three in the AFC. It's a big three. The big three are going to collide, and it's probably going to be Allen versus Burrow, which, sign me up. That sounds awesome. They're going to play. And then probably the winner plays the Chiefs, most likely. So we're in store for some good football. And as you said, you're taking the Bills, correct?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to Giants Vikings, and man, who do you have winning this game?
This is probably the toughest pick all week long for me. And here's the reason why is because, the Vikings just haven't been playing well. But I, I'm just thinking that everybody's going to be so on to the bandwagon that it's going to tick off the Vikings players, and they're actually going to play. And I think they're going to come out and they're going to, prove themselves. So I think this is probably going to be a really good game. What the Giants have been really good at, the Vikings have been struggling against. The problem is they don't have the Giants right now don't have any like go-to playmakers. So
Hey, Kenny Galladay caught a touchdown last week.
If they go and if they get behind at all, my game plan would be open it up, throw to the best receiver in the game, and then get a lead, and then just play against the run and see what happens. So
who are you taking?
I'm going to take the Vikings.
Okay. A couple weeks ago, these two teams played and took a 61-yard field goal, I believe it was, from Greg Joseph to win.
63.
63, my bad. So apologies, Greg Joseph, even though I doubt you're listening. I can't take the Vikings. They have this feel of, well, we made it. We've won these games somehow. My gut tells me that this Vikings team could be really, really good. But my brain tells me, watching them play week in, week out, you can't trust them. You can't trust the Minnesota Vikings. Breaking news in the year of 2023. I'm going to take the Giants, and as much as you say they don't have a playmaker for the Giants to have a playmaker, I think the Vikings secondary just isn't good. I don't think you need a playmaker to score on the Vikings. I think Darius Slayton can do the job. I think Sterling Shepard can do the job. I think Saquon Barkley in the receiving game can do the job. Can Kenny Galladay get a catch? Well, who knows? He just got a touchdown. He's riding a hot streak. His first touchdown was a Giant on his 34th game as a Giant? Ooh. Didn't realize it was that bad. But I think the Giants have the ability to beat the Vikings in their own game. And let's not forget, the Giants have some good players in defense, mainly Kayvon Thibodeau, who has been a monster down the stretch. Say what you want about the Nick Foles injury and all that. He clearly didn't know, but he has been a great player for the Giants, and I do think they win, and I think they have some moxie going in and will probably play. Watch you know, with my picks, they'd be playing the winner of Dallas and Tampa. Ooh. Well, again, that in a bit. But give me the Giants.
There you go.
Up next, Ravens-Bengals. And I have not seen it, but I assume Lamar's going to play this weekend, which is going to have me picking the Cincinnati Bengals.
I don't think Lamar is playing this weekend, but it doesn't matter. I think the Bengals are going to win one way or the other.
Okay, we're both taking the Bengals. We don't really have to go in this game because we just saw what the Bengals did to the Ravens. I want to ask you this. Is Lamar not hustling back because he doesn't have a contract?
I think there is probably a lot to be said to that. Is it fair to him since we're not there?
No, it's not.
No, we're not in training. But conjecturally speaking, why would he want to go in and potentially hurt himself, re-aggravate the knee, have to have surgery when he's in a contract here? And the sad part about that is if he's out for an extended period of time, do they franchise him? I mean, what happens there?
So, I'm going to say this. I don't believe Lamar is faking it. I think he re-aggravated it, probably training, because it was originally a 2 to 3 week injury when it first happened. People speculated, if I'm correct.
But I heard 4 to 5, but that's okay.
Anyways, he should be back by now. That's the point. My thought process is, if he's faking it, and you can't fake NFL doctors, but if he's just like not giving 100% effort, you're not giving it. Do you not think the Ravens aren't gonna like leak that when it's contract debate time? And how many GMs are gonna be like, wait a second, I'm gonna invest this much money in someone who just didn't give as much effort into it?
I don't think there's any way to prove it. He can just sit there and say there's something lingering, you know,
That's true.
since leg, you know. So it's I just think that that's a difficult road to go down.
Athletes are also wired differently than a regular human. When there's a chance to win a championship, they will play on anything. We've seen this time and time again. I have a hard time thinking Lamar's just milking it. And if he is, well, then that's a different discussion. That's a discussion is how badly does he want to play football? Why are the Ravens like trying to coddle him then? Because if that's the case, there's going to be some issues coming down the stretch. And it will get bad and ugly. And it would lead to Lamar leaving Baltimore, even though I think he's going to do that in general. But no matter how you put it, with Lamar, without Lamar, the Bengals are the better team. The Ravens are with the Steelers and Browns, and they're going to be there for a while, trying to catch up to Joe Burrow and the Bengals. And unless Burrow leaves, it's going to be hard to catch up to them for a while.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
Now time for Monday Night Football. Cowboys Bucks.
I'm going to go Cowboys. I think this game, if the Cowboys can survive this game, they can actually scare some teams. But this game doesn't have a lot of watchability for me, just because both teams have been playing pretty ugly.
So it's obvious why this game's a Monday Night Football. It's the Cowboys. They're big names. Cowboys versus Brady.
And Tom Brady.
Yes.
And Tom Brady.
I will strictly take the Bucks for the fact I'm not betting against Tom Brady in the playoffs. I'd rather be wrong betting on him than betting against him. I also do think the Bucks do give the Cowboys some fits defensively compared to against Cowboys offense. I believe Vita Vea is coming back. I could be wrong, but Vita Vea playing is important. The corners are good on the outside, and they do have good edge rushers in Tampa. But the Bucks overall are a team that if they could get hot, they could be dangerous. It's going to be hard with the offensive line. Without your starting center, it hurts. And I believe their backup center was carted off last week. I didn't watch the game. I admit it. I didn't watch Bucks versus Falcons. Nothing game. Wasn't interested. But overall, I do think this AFC, NFC wildcard weekend, super wildcard weekend, whatever you want to call it, I think it'll be good. I think got good matchups. I think Seattle, San Francisco will be close. I think Chargers, Jaguars will be close. I think Dolphins, Bills is going to be a murder. Giants, Vikings will be close. Ravens, Bengals, I think the Bengals are going to blow them out. And Cowboys, Bucks, I think will ultimately be close. When you have 4 out of 6 games being close, that's good. And ironically, I have more faith in a 7 seed taking it to a 2 seed than I do a 6 seed taking it to a 3 seed. I also think that we're in store for some questionable football because I do think the quality of play has dropped off in the NFL in recent years, just from last year to this year. Quarterback play has dropped off. I don't think there's as many elite tier 1 quarterbacks that can go win you a game no matter what. The ones that had them are very good. They're very dominant right now. And ultimately, we're going to have to look at these matchups. If my picks are correct, we get Seattle versus Philadelphia. Would be a very fascinating matchup. We get Jacksonville versus KC. We saw what happened earlier in the year, but Trevor Lawrence is playing much better in the Chiefs' defense. I have worries about. It'd be Bills-Bengals. Really not sure who to pick there. I would probably ultimately take the Bills, though. Playing in Buffalo, especially with what happened in the last game, there'd be a lot of emotions in that stadium willing the Bills on. And Giants, Bucks, and the Giants are Tom Brady's kryptonite in the playoffs. Who knows? Maybe they could squeak one out then. But those are what I think. And real quick, I just want to dive into some coaching news. We have had a couple coaches get fired. The openings are the Denver Broncos, Nathaniel Hackett getting fired. Carolina Panthers, Matt Rule getting fired. Houston Texans, Lovie Smith getting fired. And you got some other ones with, I'm blanking off the top of my head, but Frank Reich getting fired to clean up the Indianapolis Colts. Don't ask me how I forgot about that. And for some reason, the last one's blanking on me, and I'm going to get to it when I remember. But up first, the Broncos. It kind of feels like the Broncos are waiting for the right guy. They're interviewing every candidate possible. I'm willing to bet you Dan Quinn's the guy there based off how they've requested to interview him again and how close he was to getting the job last year. I know Sean Payton's going to be a talking point. It's going to be like, oh, we get Sean Payton, get Sean Payton. Broncos are getting Sean Payton because if they do acquire Sean Payton, they'd have to do it via trade. And the Saints have pretty much said, it's a first-round pick or nothing. You're not getting him. The Broncos trade their first-round pick. They have no way to improve this roster. They're up against cap, and they need to get young players in there to fix this team. It's not happening. Colts are interesting. I could definitely see them going after Jim Harbaugh because Jim Irsay seems to want a former Colts player in there at the coaching position. That being said, I think Ben Johnson's the right choice for them. You need to draft and develop a quarterback. You have a gift with the Bears being first and the Texans being second. You get either Stroud or Young. Just don't be stupid and pick Will Levis. Houston, DeMeco Ryans. He played for the Texans. He is Texans royalty. You can say what you want about the Lovie Smith firing, and I disagree with it. But you get DeMeco Ryans, I'm going to feel a lot better about the firing because I feel like you got the best head coaching candidate on the block. Panthers, keep Steve Wilkes. This is not complicated. This team played very well for Steve Wilkes down the stretch. They worked hard for him. They did everything. And I just remember who the last head coach opening is in Arizona. Oh boy, this has got to be the worst job of them all. And you can say, well, you got Kyler Murray locked up. Yeah, that's why I said it's the worst job of them all. I don't think Kyler Murray makes this job attractive. I think it makes it a lot less attractive. I think you get whoever you can. And I think you're probably going to get a retread head coach. And I saw that Kyler Murray wants to be involved in the head coaching decision. I question if that's the right call for Arizona based off a lot of issues they've had there already with him. They have
I'll piggyback off of that really quick. A couple things. And we can get into this next week or the week after, depending upon how you schedule this out. But how many of these openings with how things are right now and people not really having a lot of time before they're getting fired, how many of these openings do you think a retread coach is going to want to take, knowing that with salary cap implications and everything else, they won't get their players in there for 2 years, and a lot of times they're out before then. Then my next comment is, as much as I think that Murray should not be involved in the decision-making of a new head coach, I totally think he should be involved in talking with the new head coaches, sit down and do film work, things like that, just to see if there is a compatibility, and also to see if the coach is actually interested after that.
That's a very fair point. And just before we wrap this episode up, you have one, pick whoever you want. What head coach are you hiring if you're a team?
If I'm at any team, and what head coach am I hiring?
Yep.
I think that the team that, first off, I don't like a lot of the scenarios going out this year, but if I were a team, I think I'm gonna pick Carolina, and I'm gonna go with the offensive coordinator for Detroit.
Ben Johnson. As I just said, I had him going to Indianapolis. Number one guy I do, if I'm the Texans, I call it DeMeco Ryans. He played for them. He is loved by the fan base. You want to get people back invested in your team, you hire a guy like that. And he's done a pretty good job with the 49ers.
The only thing I question about that is I really think that Houston is going to need to go after an offensive-minded coach, strictly because
they're drafting a quarterback.
They're drafting a quarterback, and so I really think for developmental reasons, they're going to need an offensive coach.
That is possible, but I do believe this to my fullest. Just hire the best guy and tell him go get an offensive guy. You go get the offense coach. Go bring in a Frank Reich if you want. Go find that guy. Just bring him in to work the offense. But that's going to wrap us up for this week. We have some games to watch. I'm sure we'll probably be talking about every game next week because it's the playoffs. There's usually talking points from every game. And overall, expect a review of the Seahawks 49ers. I'm sure he's excited about that game. That's going to do us, though. Enjoy Super Wildcard Weekend, whatever stupid thing the NFL wants to call it, and have a great day.